Cool. So, well, thank you for coming this morning, or coming, or just reviewing, or opening Zoom. I think the reason we wanted to do this presentation, well, we tried to do it actually back in March, back in the real world, for a sort of a breakfast morning meeting, but obviously COVID kicked in, and we couldn't do it. And now some of this proposal does assume we all live in a normal world where you can see other humans. But it can be obviously adapted to work across sort of meetings and Zoom, etc. I guess the main reason I wanted to pull this together is I strongly believe RFPs do not work for the client mainly, but also not for the agency. I've probably been in my life, I've easily done 400-500 RFPs. For digital projects, probably worked on an equal number of actual projects. So I've got a very good sense of how the quality of an RFP, the quality of the questioning, the initial engagements you would have with a client, how that affects the outcome of the project and the success of the project. So I thought it was about time I kind of put my thoughts together and worked out a better way, because not everybody does use RFPs. There are lots of different other ways out there to engage an agency to kind of kick off some innovation and get the right answer for what you're looking for. So in an ideal world, no, the RFPs die tomorrow and everybody's doing it this way, but one step at a time. I mean, let's crack on. So touch here at the art of the brief. What I want everybody to walk away from today is just be better at creating a brief that's going to work for you. Hire the better agencies, spend less time writing the briefs themselves, and actually get innovation within your organization in terms of the work that you're doing. So this is kind of just to sort of go through that. So I think to start, I can't even click next. Here we go. So let's talk about the Fatal Rfp. So all the intention, none of the innovation. So I'm going to talk a little while, talk about why I think RFPs don't work. But don't worry, I'm not just going to slate RFPs because I don't like them as an agency. There is some answers at the end for some alternatives. So I think one of the main reasons why they fail is they assume we know the answer. So when you write an RFP, you kind of have to assume you already know what you need, because if you don't specify what you need, how can people respond? But this has obviously a massive detriment in that people can only really explore solutions that you've initially suggested, and there's not really any opportunity to go beyond that. So anyone responding to that RFP is not going to come up with any new ideas. They're only going to respond to what has already been said. So already we're kind of narrowing what's possible in terms of what's coming up. Only safe agencies need apply, because no agency is going to push the boundaries when it comes to answering an RFP, because it pays to play safe. So let's say we get an RFP and it says we need X, Y, Z. If in our hearts we go, I don't think that's going to work. I can see why you're doing it, but we've done this before and this idea might actually work a bit better. You have to be pretty ballsy to actually go back to the client and say, your RFP is not quite right. We would suggest this way. So what do? You play by the game and you answer that RFP. So only the safe agencies do it. So already you're not going to get the best agencies going for that. Which is obviously a bit of doesn't work too well. You only hear what you want to hear. So as I said, your agencies are only going to tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear, especially within a pitch situation. You're up against 6 other agencies. You've put a lot of money into pitching, getting it right, putting some strat time in, some design time. You're really thinking about it. Are you really going to go out on a limb and tell the client that they should be doing it differently? You're not. You're going to tell them what they want to hear, and that not what they need to hear. So RFPs just kind of kill any innovation or any thinking that you might get from a third-party agency. They tend to be written by committee. That's because they're important. Not everybody wants the whole weight on their shoulders, and it's more of a political thing. I think a lot of people struggle, especially in larger corporations. Politics plays a big role with people. Everyone needs to feel engaged. Everyone wants to be involved. Nobody wants to say I wasn't part of this process. So you ask around. You ask as many people as possible. What can what do you want to put into this what do you want to put into this RFP? What that results in is a complete bundle of lots of different ideas with no true Northern Star. There's no true single objective, really. It's lots of different things. It's trying to fix everything. So we receive that at the other end, and we don't really know what the intention is, because it's just formed from so many different people. Largely they're output, not outcome focused. So I think all agencies should be measured and rewarded on the outcome of their projects, not the output. Make it tough for them, make it tough for us, just make us deliver that ROI. Don't just make us deliver the deliverables, the output. But it's easier to define outputs rather than outcomes, because then when all the responses come in, you're comparing apples to apples. But yeah, start asking for outcomes rather than the outputs that come back, and just everyone can think slightly differently. Yes, you're going to get a whole different array of solutions coming back at you, but that's a good thing. It's going to be hard to choose which one to do, but that's going to be better than just asking people to answer something off the bat. And you're kind of working backwards. When you do an RFP, you're asking for the answer before you've actually sat with anybody. So you're specifying a fixed price before you know what it is. You're defining a deadline before you know what you're building. And it really is a false economy. So if you imagine if it was an internal project, so one that you weren't going to put out to an agency, and you had an internal team that you wanted to execute this really important strategic thing for your business, you wouldn't just write that down on 5 sheets of A4 and send it to them. And then when that person says, oh, I've got a few questions, say, questions are in 2 weeks' time. I'm going to put you on the call with everybody else. Or I can only answer questions in Q&A format on a spreadsheet. You would sit down with them, you would engage with them, you'd talk to them, you would have a conversation. A Q&A session can't explore anything. A true growing live conversation that happens naturally is going to uncover way more and be way more useful. So that's another reason you're kind of keeping everybody at arm's length and kind of doing everything against collaboration. And I understand why. It's because if you've gone out to 6 agencies, you don't want to be on the phone to 6 of them for half an hour talking about it. It could be a waste of time. That agency might not even be within the right price bracket, and you could have put all that time in. So I can understand why that happens, but it really does make life difficult for both sides, I would say, in terms of doing that. So here's an example. So this is a real life RFP evaluation scoring sheet, and I'm just using it to illustrate how it doesn't work. So here we've got qualifications, technical ability, past performance. So who would win in this? So the winner is a safe playing, process-driven, financially stable company with a very mediocre idea. They would smash this. They get 250 points. Everybody would agree, and they'll win the pitch. The loser is somebody who's a bit more dynamic. They're not afraid to challenge. They've looked beyond the brief, and they've come up with a bigger picture, and they've got a great strategy. Now, none of that is being measured by this scoring here. So they would actually lose that project, which doesn't make sense, which is why people play safe. But obviously, as we all know, if everyone played safe, that's the killer of innovation. Here's another one. This is probably more for a product, say like a CRM. But again, it's showing how it's weighting it's kind of rewarding all the wrong behaviors. So the winner of this one is a product that can echo back requirements without adding any value or insights. You'd score high on all these functional requirements. But a product that actually offers a better solution than the one shown, or a product that actually does something a bit differently, or they've actually gone beyond what you require, wouldn't score. There's no scoring here for does something I've not asked for. So again, the loser could be the better product, and the winner could just be a standard one that just does what it says out the box. So I think the scoring mechanisms are particularly wrong as well. So a bit of truth about how agencies think when we receive RFPs. Now, we don't actually like them. Now, I know obviously no one's going to say that, and this is being recorded, and this could be the end of everything. But no, people don't actually like RFPs, and the truth is, they don't allow the agency to do their best work in any sense. So an RFP comes through the door or through the email. This is what the agencies are thinking. This is risky. How can I minimize my exposure? To win, I need to tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. So I'm already thinking of playing safe. There's a bunch of unknowns in here, so I just pad the costing. So the client's probably not getting the best deal because there's too many unknowns. And if you're looking for fixed price, the agency's doing all it possibly can to protect itself at this stage because there isn't that conversation to work out what you actually need. I need to think of a quick solution. I don't want to appear expensive by costing what it would do, what it would cost to do properly. So say a brief comes in and we want to achieve X, Y, Z by doing it this way, and the budget is, I don't know, 30K. We could be thinking, well, actually, that's probably not the best use of that 30K. To do what you're asking for could cost a bit more. But if 30K is your budget, then maybe this could be a better solution. But no agency is going to say that. For no agency wants to be the guy that phones up and says your strategy is wrong, your approach is wrong, the budget's wrong. So you go along with it. You play the game. And again, that's just getting the worst use and value out of agencies. So again, I shouldn't agree too much on the approach. No, if there's a set way of doing things that you know isn't going to elicit any innovation at all, you don't want to be the agency that's difficult to work with, that doesn't listen to the process, that doesn't follow the rules. So yeah, you play the game and crack on with it, even if you know it's not the best way to do it. So you need, I need to shortcut all the necessary design and discovery to show some outputs. So a lot of people say, well, now I want to see some visuals that come back, or show me how it's going to work. Well, we can second guess, but to do this properly, I want to talk to your customers. I want to talk to some internal stakeholders. I want to understand your business a bit better. I want to have a proper vision of where you want to be in 3 years. Then I'll start to think about the design and what it could look like and what the solution could be. But forcing that too early down the line is just not the way to go. So sometimes, the agency might seem pretty corporate, set in their ways. So you just follow it through. They might have a procurement manager that is buying on price, who doesn't necessarily think too much about the ROI or anything else in terms of the project. So again, that's a tricky one that you sometimes get with larger corporates. Some agencies don't like giving away free consultancy in the sales process. So that's not us. I mean, I would chat strategy all day long, given the chance to the client. If they open up if they open up and tell me what they need, I'll happily talk all day. But yeah, that sometimes can be a bit tricky in a pitch process. So we've seen other pitches that come back from other agencies, and they're just generic. It's just some generic processes, a bit of an exec summary that was written in 10 seconds, some case studies. How can you select an agency on some case studies and processes? Well, what are their ideas? What are they thinking? Where's their curiosity? And none of that really gets a chance to shine. Also, if a pitch comes in and you're actually on client work, it doesn't make sense to put your best guys on that, especially if it's gone out to 10 people and you don't know what the odds are. So you're not getting the best reflection of that agency anyway. So I'm being completely bare and open here. That's generally how people respond to RFPs. I think agencies want a chance to shine. They want to show that they know why they're different, what they can offer. And I think the frustration is RFPs don't allow agencies to do that. It's also a speed issue as well. So obviously everybody knows to stay ahead, speed is of the essence. So let's think about, okay, so you want a new thing. So let's do some internal research. Let's work out what we need. Everyone's got a day job, so they're taking a while to get back to you. So you finally get an RFP written by 10 different people who were half thinking about it because they had other things to do. You have to collate that. That's probably taken a month, 2 months. And then this is an actual real life set of deadlines really in RFP process. And it's 2.5 months from the RFP being sent to the contract being awarded. So the deadline for bidders, you've got a Q&A phone session, you've got a deadline to submit your proposals, then you're doing your presentations, then you'll start a negotiation. By that time, the customer behavior has moved on. You're probably 5 months down the line from realizing you needed to change something, and now 5 months down the line, you're now starting it. We can't afford to be waiting 5 months these days to make change. The world is moving way too quickly. And to stay ahead, we need to be a bit more rapid in terms of how we're sort of executing ideas within the business. So again, RFPs just store everything up and don't help with that. Well, I think a thing to consider is, now, are you buying a strategy or are you buying a commodity? So the very nature of an RFP means you need to specify exactly what you need. and you're kind of calling on people to provide that commodity to execute that. But you're not getting value if you do it that way. I mean, even really good execution is a commodity. It can be done cheaply, it can be outsourced, and a lot of people pay over the odds with an agency just to do the execution and the client's taken on all the thinking and all the strategy. And I think that's probably not the best value you can get from an agency. You want to use their third party perspective as much as possible. So objectivity is so somebody coming in from the outside who doesn't know the politics, doesn't know the ins and outs, it has coming in with a fresh mind. Now, objectivity is a rapidly decreasing asset. It only lasts a couple of weeks before you just get into it. So you want to make the most of that asset. You want to, when you're talking to people, the agency's coming in fresh. Use their ideas, speak to them. Don't use them as a commodity purely as execution, because A, you'll be paying over the odds for it, but B, you're not making the most of what they're actually could be offering you. So if not RFPs, what is the answer then? So I've got a couple of solutions here. One I clearly favor over the other, which might come through somewhat in the next few slides. But there are alternatives, and it's depends which you think suits better for you. So the first one would be doing something like a design sprint. So they're there to encourage thinking and experimentation. It's just a really nice way to validate ideas, sketch ideas, get a prototype up there. I mean, it doesn't come without its negatives, but it's still super useful. It's still way quicker than an RFP if you crack on with it. So what does a typical design sprint look like? So it is what it says. It's a 5-day sort of rapid execution of things. So on Monday, you work out what you want to be doing. You sketch solutions. You decide on the best option. You build a prototype. So just a quick clickable execution of what you need, and then you can actually test that with real customers on the Friday. So within a week, you've obviously saved a fair bit of time rather than going through the RFP route, and you've actually come up with something now to build that has been validated, that works. That you have tested. So maybe just choose a couple of agencies and run this. It's a bit more time intensive, but within a week, within 2 weeks, you know exactly what you want, rather than just trying to formulate that from an RFP point of view. How would I do that? I would probably not send it out to 10 people. You don't want to sit through 10 design sprints, otherwise that's just going to take too much of your time and have too much of an internal cost. So look around and have set up some screening times, speak to some agencies and put some time into that conversation. We're not just sending a brief. You want to have that conversation with them. So even if it's half an hour chat with an agency, what good agencies will be doing at that point is looking to understand as much as they possibly can and looking to show you their value as quick as they possibly can on that phone call. So the best way to qualify is who's engaging with you, who's curious, who's asking the right questions, who's thinking on the fly and offering solutions like this in that conversation when you've presented your problem to them. Anyone that's talking about, this is our process, this is what we do, these are our case studies, just be a bit wary of that approach. You should be selecting the agency on their intelligence to understand your problem, not on their, well, obviously their processes are important, but obviously their kind of live thinking, their engagement, their curiosity is going to be what makes the project successful. So that's how I would qualify, and then run the process. So ideally twice, just run it through. Pick 2 agencies that you feel get it. They've got enough experience in terms they understood your problem. They've got a good strat team that will sit down. They're not just going to put 1,000 post-it notes on a wall and make you do all the work and basically get paid to pitch. They're giving value from day one, and run that process a couple of times. So if we now compare that to an RFP, running 2 design sprints, you could be there within 4 weeks in terms of knowing exactly what you want to do. Whereas if we go the RFP, as we've just seen, that can take up to 3 months because it just takes so long to do anything. So if it's an important thing and time is of the essence, and you've got a bit of internal time as well to invest into this and start thinking about it, then this could be the good way to go. But the reason it isn't the silver bullet is, and just something to consider, they are hard to buy. They are hard to choose the agencies. And you don't want to end up just paying somebody to facilitate a sprint and just tell you a process, which can happen. And you don't want to sit there through it all and find out you're doing all the work, you're coming up with all the ideas. And you spend basically a week just offloading your problems to an agency that's failing to grasp what it is you're looking to achieve. So and that's obviously tricky to get right. It's also difficult to know when to use them. So as I say, design sprints are great for singular initiatives. They don't really support larger digital transformational approaches. So they're good for fixing one problem, which could be a subset of a bigger initiative you're looking for. But most things can be broken down. So maybe if you're just looking to test the thinking capacity of, or the curiosity or execution of an agency, then it's a safe way to try. I mean, it's only going to be a week's work, whereas the damage of selecting the wrong agency can run into the hundreds of thousands. So again, it's kind of a safer bet. It is hard to get agency value from these. Now, agencies love them, and I'll tell you why. Is because they're basically, you get paid to pitch, and it's the time and material model, so you can't go over budget. There's zero risk on the agency, so be wary of that. So any agency trying to force a design sprint down you ASAP rather than a full kind of discovery or taking anything themselves, that does benefit the agency more than it does you. So obviously be super wary of that. Hope there's no agencies on here that are going to email me later. So request for solution. So this is what I think is the alternative and the best way to do it. The most successful projects we've ever worked on have come from something akin to the client requesting a solution. They're kind of asking, this is, come to us with the solution. This is my problem. This is the context. This is kind of what I'm thinking. What's your solution? And then it just allows the good agencies to shine immediately from day one. You're not buying a commodity. You're not buying purely execution. You're paying for that third-party objectivity, which I say is a rapidly decreasing asset. And it just seems a nice way to get involved. So I believe the best brief contains, and you've still got some control over it. You're not just saying it's completely open, it's completely wide. Just come back with all these crazy ideas, because if you do that, you're going to get mad people saying VR's the future, or how about, and just really, really, like, you're going to get a lot of shiny object responses, which aren't necessarily steeped in any commercial reality. So you do use this to try and guide somehow. So the best brief contains, I would say, it's just a couple of sheets of A4 with this. Get the agencies thinking about it a bit more, and then have that initial conversation and see how much the agency has actually understood what you are and what you're looking to do. So our business is talk about your business, what you're looking to achieve, who your customers are, what you're doing, and the problem you're looking to address is. So that could be, well, I'm looking to increase the amount of sales that happen through my e-commerce channel as opposed to my retail channel, for example. Our desired future state. Now, the reason I've highlighted this one is because this can be as open or as narrow as you like. So you could say our desired future state is, and then just could be growth, could be one word, and that's it. And then obviously that's a super open brief. You're going to get a lot of variation back in terms of what you're after. But it could be more specific. Our desired future state is to have the best onboarding process in the sector in terms of our clients. Well, this is now kind of telling us roughly how to approach this, but it's still quite open. You're not dictating features or anything. You're just saying, what a good future looks for you. The three challenges that worry us the most are that allows us to kind of be mindful of anything internally that might still be there. So it could be external challenges, could be internal challenges, but there's no point an agency responding with X, Y, Z only to find out that's actually not going to work because of something else. So just let people just be open, be vulnerable, and tell the agency what your challenges are. Our customer bottleneck is so that could be anything. It could be acquisition, could be conversion, could be onboarding, could be churn. Again, or just open up, just tell the agency everything you possibly can. If money weren't an object, our 3 wishes would be. A lot of things are dismissed offhand because you think it's too much time to go through it, or it's too tricky. But just for a second, let's forget that and just say what's the dream here. It's always interesting to understand that. Our happiest customer says, our grumpiest customer says. Again, what that helps me respond to the brief to understand, okay, well, there's, things aren't perfect. There's a few things here that can be fixed, but when things go well, this is what the customer loves. So let's focus on that. I mean, the gold dust that is in those 2 questions is amazing. And it's amazing how little we sometimes get access to that stuff. Our typical route to market is, so let us know everything about that. In 3 years' time, we see ourselves as, it's good to kind of go even further down the line. It's a good agency will be thinking about you as an account, not as a project. So the more bigger picture stuff you can share, the more value you're going to get out of them. If they're just fixing this one thing without context, siloed, then they're not offering the best value they can do. Let them know the bigger picture, and they can help you map that journey and be on that journey with you. Our biggest threat to the competition is, so let us know your USPs, what really works. Let us understand the competition a bit better. What is it that makes you unique? So maybe we can amplify that a little bit, or think about ways to improve that. The last 2 questions kind of more grounding questions, just to see, because we want to match a solution and a way of working to what's actually realistic within an organization. So we adapt to changes in the market by, and that could be monthly meetings, or it could be we've got a team already that works with this, and they're rapid executioners of ideas. We collaborate to solve business problems by. So again, these final 2 questions are grounding questions that just tell the agency, don't go too mad, don't come in with crazy ideas, because you're just not going to get sign off. We're not going to get that change. This is how we do things internally. Don't disrupt that too much. It just helps us understand and come back with something quite sensible. So is the request for solution a better middle ground? Well, I think so, because you can quickly identify agencies that shine, because you're having that quick conversation with them. You're testing them on their curiosity. And you're kind of, as I said, design sprints can be a bit of a gamble, because once you're in, and you've paid for them, and the agency might just sit back and let you do all the work. So this allows you to kind of test an agency's thinking pretty quickly. You don't need that leap of faith, because you're actually making the agency work harder for the work. Because if you request for a solution, the agency's got to get its best brains on that solution pretty quickly, and come back to you with something amazing pretty quickly. Whereas if they're responding to an RFP, they're probably just filling in some questions, and anyone can do that. But if you're asking for a solution, they're going to put their best guys on it, and you're going to get a much more useful response out of them. And it focuses some internal it sort of forces internal focus as well, because you're presenting a problem rather than dictating a solution, and you help agencies think in terms of that outcome. So the kind of 4 stages for that. So it's a 1-stage requirement is going to get you a list of varied approaches. So you're not just going to get apples for apples coming back. You're going to get a whole bunch of different ideas. So look at it now. If you're looking to build a house, would you send blueprints to lots of architects in terms of exactly how you want what you want out of your house? You're going to get lots of different costs come back, but it'd be exactly what you wanted. Or would you allow them to be a bit more experimental and come up with the designs themselves? Obviously, it's better to say what you need from a house, or what you need from it, and what's important to you, and let them come up with the solution, and then just be presented with 5 solutions for free. It's a much better way to do things, because if you don't dictate exactly what it needs, and you're just saying, well, this is the outcome, it could be any one of these things down here. So it could be the proposition might need a bit of strengthening. Could be a brand conversation, could be design, could be technical, could be talking about customer acquisition, could be a marketing problem, could be a digital product, could be solution, could be internal process, might need a bit more efficiency, could be an internal piece of work to help with that. So just try and keep it as open as possible to get the best results coming back. So the pros, I'd say, of a request for solution, well, it scares off non-strategic agencies straight away. They don't like having to think for free up front. Good agencies love the opportunity to. You get fresh thinking immediately. The journey is obviously way more fun. It's way more collaborative. A good agency will take a client and kind of pull them through that and let them enjoy the process much better. And it actually takes a lot less time actually than writing an RFP. The cons are, yeah, you don't get apples for apples. You don't just get a checklist. It's harder to judge criteria. You can't really look to approve budget beforehand, which means old style procurement strategies can be a little bit incompatible. But there's no harm in kind of giving a ballpark in terms of what you think might be achievable. There's obviously ways around that. Because I think this does attract the best agencies. So really test your agencies. Now really make them work for the work. Don't just give it away because they scored high on RFP. Make them come up with ideas and solutions. So yeah, demand evidence of strategies, but then score them on their discovery and their creativity. What did they actually come up with? Contextualize it for them. Agencies love context, so the more you can contextualize, the more they can understand it, the more they can come back and show off. And invest time for better responses. So one thing I've never understood is you would receive an RFP and you'd want a conversation with somebody and they're just not interested. They don't want to talk to you. They're like, well, no, everything's in the RFP. Can you please send your proposal by next week? Well, can I have a phone call? Because I've got some questions. Well, you can submit them and I might answer them. Now, as I said, I can see why people might not want to do that, because who wants to chat to an agency that's only going to come back with something that could be out of budget? But just put the time in. It's going to save you so much time in the future if you actually engage with agencies and have that conversation. And agencies love to show their creative flair. They're desperate to show you how innovative, how creative, how technical, how commercial they are as soon as they possibly can. And you need to allow them to be able to do that, because otherwise, again, you're just going to get very safe responses back, and that does kill innovation, and you're not going to get the best result. So what would I say the process would be? So yeah, write a request for solution document. As I said, you can use some of those questions I had earlier, but you're generally just laying everything down for them and asking for the solution to come back. You want to be raising questions that have multiple answers. There's no right answer. That you're not trying to see if an agency can answer the question. You're seeing how they're going to answer the question. Cover the key elements, so your operational environment, your objectives, your major concerns, and most importantly, your desired future state. That's, as a strategic good agency, will be able to take that and work with you to achieve what you're looking for. Invest time for conversations with a handful of agencies. So don't just send it out to 20 agencies, because that's going to take too much time. It's much more cost effective and time effective to find, maybe 5 agencies you like the look of, but put some time into those 5 agencies and have those conversations, have those workshops, have those chats, and allow them to spend their own time on their own money helping you find that solution. So you're looking for the speed in which an agency can understand your business. If you find that you're spending way too much time explaining the issue, explaining your industry, the context, and they're not getting it, they're probably more of a tech agency, or they're probably more of they're not that commercial. So you're looking for agencies that understand your business straight away. They get it, and they've worked in so many different businesses. They can apply that knowledge instantly to yours. Run a workshop, spend some time with them, see what they come up with, then allow them to present back what their solution is. Again, agencies would so much rather get their best guys and invest in actually coming up with a decent solution than they would responding to an RFP. And also, what's the most value to you? A bunch of RFPs or actual solutions? So it's a win-win. So because time is spent around your solution, not writing a proposal. So as I say, it's good for everybody. So a better scoring matrix. So you're kind of looking for, rather than those RFP things I showed earlier in terms of how to score, which don't reward best behavior at all. Think about scoring your agencies like this. So have they shown high commercial acumen? Are they there? Have they just been in agency world all their lives? Have they got any real world experience of business? Start looking for that. Have they got a strong third party perspective? Because, as I say, objectivity just disappears and it shines brightest in the first few meetings, because they're not bogged down with the reality, with the IT, with the politics. They're just there. It's fresh. What's the quality of their questioning? Does it feel a bit too much of a set piece Q&A? Who are your audience? Blah blah blah. Or are they excited? Are they generally excited and curious and asking live questions? Are they interested in your outcomes? Are they interested in your customers? What's the viability of their solution? Is it a shiny object solution, or is it a real grounded ROI based solution? Do they have a strong technical process and strong delivery management process? So again, a bit. These are some of the more dry aspects, but still very important. You don't want somebody who's got all the ideas but can't do anything once they've got them. In their case studies, do they seem innovative? Did they respond to the brief, or did they help co-create the brief and come up with something good? Are their clients happy? And do they seem account or project focused? So are they looking at the bigger picture? Are they looking 3 years down the line, or are they looking to fix this one problem for you? Because the project-based agencies aren't thinking of scalability. They're not thinking of scalability. They're not thinking of future proof. They're thinking of answering that brief in the most effective way. So you get a good sense if they're sort of account or product or project focused, i.e. was there an account manager in the pitch as well, or was it just the sales guy? What to avoid? So anyone lacking commercial strategy experience, are they too tech focused? The explanation was too much on you. So you came out the meeting, you thought, I spent all that time just talking about me. They didn't really ask any questions. Avoid the safe approaches rather than somebody giving you a delightful perspective. You want to go, oh wow, I hadn't thought of that. That's amazing. Again, are they giving you set piece questions? Did they ask you to fill out a standard template Q&A thing to kick off? If they did, run a mile. Were they focused on outputs or outcomes? Do they show little interest in the actual end user or the context around it? Lack of curiosity, no real world innovation, and just a fast turnaround of the brief, with no real initiative shown to it. And these are all things I've seen in other agencies. And I think a lot of people kind of limp by running it this way, but demand more from your responses. That's pretty much it. So there's a download, which is go through the process, go through some of the questions and the scoring matrix, which you can get from there. Let's get rid of this. From rawnet.com/RFS guide. If anyone's got any questions, let me know. I'm sorry I can't hear you. It's a webinar thing, just let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much.